My name is Christian Basel. Years ago, I had an idea. I got myself a TARDIS. Took it to new places, met a lot of new people, took some great pictures, and talked Doctor Who. From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hanging With Web show, this is the legend of the Traveling Tardis. Join me on my latest adventures and become part of the legend. Hi there, folks. Welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Thank you for joining us here at the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. My name is Christian Basel. We're going to have an exciting day today. If you're just joining us live, folks, do not forget to chat into the video, into our stream itself. All you have to do, if you're on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS or the Hanging With show or Krypton Radio, you can just simply chat as if you're chatting to us on Facebook, and we'll show your submit everything on screen. We are coming to you live here, if you're watching us on the Facebook page there. Also, we are on the YouTube channel. You can check us out at HWWS Media, and we're part of a whole bunch of people on that media channel there. You can catch us also on Spreaker, CBSradio.com, Spotify. We're now on the NSCLiveTV.com, No Signals Comments. Of course, we're on iHeartRadio, also on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, whatever the heck they want to call themselves. And we're also on Krypton Radio Weekly every Saturday. Make sure you go to KryptonRadio.com and check out the schedules. And I've got to say this to everybody, even the folks at the conventions, we miss you people so much. There we go, folks. My name is Christian Basel, and let me introduce you to our panelists. We have a great topic. It's a topic that I've been wanting to go over since we saw the YouTube video, Farewell, Sarah Jane. And I think it's about time that we've had this there. Starting to my left. Oh, there we go. I got it right.
What's wrong with so
There's
close.
a story of a guy named James Enstall from Geek to Me Radio. He's been on the show before over there, but for the folks who may not be familiar with your work on the live channel, James, tell us a little bit about Geek to Me Radio. James Enstall.
It's a live pop culture-based radio show that airs in the St. Louis area, streams online, and then obviously once it airs, we cut the commercials out and upload it so everyone in the world can hear it in podcast form. We cover the realms of TV, movies, games, and comics.
Awesome. And joining us as well is the lovely director of their show and co-host, Melanie Dean. Artiste Melanie Dean, how you doing?
Doing okay. Doing well. Keep on going. What?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I wanted to ask you about the projects that you're doing, because you're doing live feeds now about your art.
Yes.
That's cool. Tell us a little bit about that.
Basically jumped onto the StreamYard bandwagon, and if you watch either my personal Facebook page or my art my page, you will see me live streaming art. So if you want to watch me paint, I'm painting.
Oh, sweet. That's
That's
exactly what you were painting the last time I saw that. It was great there. Awesome down there. Joining below us is a second time he's been on there. We did an episode called the Roundtable, I think the podcast Roundtable or something like that. I forgot there, Mike. But we have director MikeFaber. You probably heard him. If you're a big Whovian podcaster, you're listening to him on the Earth Station Who podcast. Mike, can you tell us a little bit about Earth Station Who?
Of course. Earth Station Who is part of the ESO network, and we've been doing Doctor Who podcast now for about 7 years. Mm-hmm. And we review Big Finish, we review old classic series episodes. We also have, like episodes, who's your favorite companion, remembering this person, or, stuff like that. And of course, when the new series is, like every other Doctor Who podcast out there, we review the new stories and everything. And, we consider ourselves, authorities on nothing. So we're just typical Whovians and everything. And we just love to have fun, and we have passion for Doctor Who. So it's pretty decent to talk about and everything. And it's a lot of fun.
Is that the definition of Whovian podcasters? We excel at nothing.
Exactly.
We're experts in nothing.
Exactly, but damn it, we could tell you which sonic screwdriver that doctor was using.
Exactly, and that's all that matters in our
Exactly,
world.
and that's part of the fun.
Speaking of our world, we also introduce Dr. Freedom himself, Brian Burress. How you doing there, Brian?
Doing okay. How's everybody out there doing tonight?
We are surviving. We're surviving. This is going to be an exciting topic today because I wanted to talk about this a long time. But speaking of topics, let's start off, as we always do, with the Who Knew News. And Dr. Freedom himself, Brian Burress, please check his channel out there on the YouTube channel. You can just look him up, Dr. Freedom. Make sure you subscribe. He always talks about news from excuse me. Wow, I can't even. It's that kind of night tonight. News from in and around the Hooniverse. He talks about once news drops, he's on top of it and gives his opinions right out there. So take it away, Dr. Freedom.
Okay, first up on the docket, Doctor Who writer pitch comebacks for 2 classic villains in the modern series. And apparently Peter Harness, during the live tweet along, I believe, for the Zygon invasion, the big deal just happened this past weekend. He messaged that he had pitched different ideas to Stephen Moffat back during that time. One idea would have included the return of the Mara. Now, if everybody, who are, well, you have to be pretty much my age, I think, to remember who the Mara are. But the Mara, that big snake-like entity from way back in the Peter Davison time, who first appeared in the episode Kinda, and then later in Snake Dance, and then later, they would reappear during Big Finish. I think the last one they appeared in was Cradle of the Snake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that one was bad. But he had pitched this to him back then. And also another figure that apparently he pitched that a very old Whovians would remember. He also apparently had heard about a pitch about the meddling monk returning. And for you folks who don't remember this episode, this was the first time. This is all the way back in the Hartnell era, where with the meddling monk. This is the first time we actually saw like another TARDIS first appear and things like that, and another member of the Doctor's race. So it was a very groundbreaking episode back for that time. Mm-hmm. And also the meddling monk. Well, I don't want to spoil it too much, what happened to him, but let's just say it didn't end well for the monk. Okay, don't mess with the Doc. All right, so these 2 characters were pitched, but apparently never, as we all know, it never quite happened.
Right.
So it's kind of nice, though, that to hear that some of the classic villains are still being pitched. Yes, but unfortunately, we never see them.
And well, hang on a second, Mike, and especially James on this one, and Dr. Freedom and Melanie. Get everybody involved. The monk, the Ronnie, Drax. Where are they? What are they doing? Why can't we go back and see them? Why can't they be in the new series? Does anybody have a comment on that? Romana, yeah.
Well,
yeah. Romana, what's she doing?
Well, she was president of Gallifrey for a while.
I know.
So it just, all depends.
She has a shout out going out of business sales on them, kind of having a garage sale out there. James, who would you want to see come back Time Lord wise besides the Master for the 5th or 8th time?
I'd love to see Romana come back because I was kind of, when they first introduced Missy in the Peter Capaldi series, I thought I kind of got, it's another Time Lord. I wonder if she called him her boyfriend. Is this Romana? Is she turned evil? So I would love to see Romana come back.
And the monk did come back, if you remember, during when.
If that's for me, I'm not here.
I'm not here. No,
I didn't do it.
No. It's Romana calling. She wants.
It is Romana calling.
Whatever it is, I was nowhere near.
She's calling collect. I'm not paying for that one. It's long distance from Gallifrey.
Exactly. Yeah, but they have a calling card, so
Exactly.
They use the Sonic on the phone. That's okay. But yeah, the monk did come back during one of the Dalek stories during the first era.
You're right. I keep forgetting that one.
Yep, and then he also came back in some Big Finish.
No, I meant that, but I'm looking for the TV series. I apologize. I should have said that.
But the monk did come back during the second time during the first Doctor era.
Right.
But then, there had been talk about him coming back multiple times with the new series. It just hasn't materialized with the right story yet.
Well, let me get to the comments. I've been waiting though. Want to say hello to Julie Foster. How are you doing there? Also, we have Graham Krause. Hi, folks there. Oh, Graham says the Ronnie should. I've been an advocate of the Ronnie and the monk to come back and do some damage to there. So Candace Rochat, she says, bring her back. I guess that she's referring to Romana. And yes, answering questions.
But Ronnie, actually, Julian Anderson had been talking about coming back as the Ronnie to Doctor Who. She had been in talks about it.
Yeah. I meant the monk, I think, definitely comes back. I think, and I've been arguing this case, that the monk, I think, would be a great counter as opposed to the master, but Shasha proved me wrong on that. I think the monk would have been a great toil for the 13th Doctor. That's just my opinion, because when it comes to the monk goes on the moral compass of the Doctor and uses it against her. And I think that would have been a great, because she's kind of become the I'm trying not to be insulted about it, but she's come up to be the Pharrell Williams of the Doctor. So she's everybody's happy, and she's walking down the street with her suspender shirt on, and I'm just like, we need somebody that kind of puts her and says, no, it's not all fun and games there. And then still we got that thing where the 12th Doctor says, I've made so many mistakes and it's about time I corrected them, which I don't think he ever did during his time as the Doctor there. But that's just me. But Brian, what else is in the news today?
Okay, read a new Doctor Who short story entitled Press Play. And this one's a very, especially for you classic fans out there. Mm-hmm. This one's going to pull your heartstrings. This one's written by Pete Mateague, who's written a number of episodes for the new series. And it touches upon, well, in a way, I don't want to give away too much. It is a nice little looking back, but it's not very long. But I guarantee you, if you're a fan of the classic series, this one's going to grab you right by the heartstrings and pull. It really is. All right, to give you a thing, it does involve Susan. Just
really?
Oh, yes. Awesome. So you may want to give this one a brief read. Like I said, it really amazed me how, in just so few words, he kind of like grabbed me by my old Whovian heartstrings and made me squirt a few tears. That dirty evil man. Okay.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, and lastly for today, David Tennant, Patrick Stewart, and Tamsin Greig are offering to help children out during lockdown with their Shakespeare homework. Now, apparently, during this time, they're going to have this email address set up where children during the lockdown can get tips and insights from leading actors, about Shakespeare and all that, if they have any problems understanding it and all that. And basically, you message them, including the hashtag RSC homework help. And you can do this on Twitter, Instagram, or what you call it. And then you can also do it by email. Mm-hmm. And you'll get a response from, hopefully, Patrick Stewart, Tamsin Greig, or David Tennant, a.k.a., whatever number Doctor he is now. It changes by the week. We don't know.
Where was this crap when I was growing up, for crying out loud? Where was all these people when I was growing up? I'm like, I don't understand my science homework. Can I talk to Stephen Hawking, please? Is he available now? Somebody give me the time of day on this one. Good night.
I just think it's very nice, they're taking this a little bit of time out, to help out with kids and all that. Especially, Patrick Stewart, he's been reading sonnets every day on Twitter and various other things.
Yep, one a day.
So it's been very, nice that they've been taking time out, for the kids and all that who are stuck home. Maybe hopefully learn a little something about, this literary figure.
Yes. Well, speaking of literary figures, we are on a hard break. When we return, we're going to be talking with all these friends of mine about a wonderful companion, Sarah Jane Smith, and the lovely actress Elizabeth Sladen. When we return, please stay logged on, tune in, and become part of the legend.
It's Germany, 1938. Charlotte is a 15-year-old girl living in the Jewish quarter. George lives in the city proper, and enamored by Charlotte's charm and grace when she wanders into his cobbler shop, George decides right then and there that he is going to marry her. Follow along as this unlikely couple struggles to stay one step ahead of the Gestapo and their dramatic escape from Nazi Germany. Good things always happen in springtime, from author Joanne Fisher, on Amazon.com today.
Alien invaders enslave Earth,
Unleashing hunters into the ruin wastes.
One young survivor struggles to elude their monsters, clinging to hope.
When he's stolen off the planet by a sarcastic starship AI, they pit their uneasy alliance against a treacherous galaxy.
Explore a whole new verse of barbarism and betrayal.
Wonder and Adventure
in the Scion series,
by Michael J. Allen.
beginning with Book 1, Scion Conquered Earth.
Available in print, ebook, and audio on Amazon.com.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show. My name is Christian Basel. Whether you're listening to us right now on iHeart or iTunes or Spotify speaker, wherever, CBS Radio, or if you're watching us live, please make sure that you're including yourself into the chat right now. We're going to be answering your questions live out there. To my left is James. There we go. Hi. James Enstall of Geek to Me Radio. We also have director and lovely Melanie Dean, Pieces of Melee. You can check her out on her Instagram. You can also check out her art live. We have director MikeFaber from our station Who and Dr. Freedom himself. Now, we're going to be talking about this lovely lady, Sarah Jane Smith. Sorry, that is the wrong Sarah Jane Smith. That's Sarah Jane Smith there.
I see what you did there.
You see what I did there? Back in 1973, with the departure of Katie Manning, we had a new companion come in called Sarah Jane Smith. She appeared in The Time Warriors, and she would be on until about midway through the 4th Doctor series. I'm trying to remember the episode. Oh, gosh. Why can I? Oh, The Hand of Fear. Gosh, take my...
Eldred shall live.
What's that? Yes.
Eldred must live.
Eldred must live there, and we finally got to see her departure. A little flash forward in 1981, John Nathan Turner brings her back to do one episode of a series that should have happened, but unfortunately just didn't pick up. Canine and Company, which was a bit of a Christmas story, and it brought back a Canine Mach 3 to help her out in her adventures. And then she would return again for The 5 Doctors, where she... was it her or was it Susan who tripped over the rock? Or both of them tripped over a rock or something like that? Or both of them had a hard time running away or something?
She fell down the most shallow ravine on planet Earth.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Or on whatever planet it was. I think it was Gallifrey. And then they had to pull her out with ropes, even though like a toddler could have went up that hill, okay?
Stand up.
And she was wearing that really bad raincoat, too.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was not the only one that thought
About to say, it looks good on Eve Miles. It didn't work in this case.
Nope.
Poor girl there. Later on, Elizabeth Sladen would reprise her role for a little series they called The Sarah Jane Adventures for a short time. And unfortunately, Liz Sladen would lose her life to cancer, which she passed away April 19th, 2011 at the age of 65 in London, England.
And that was they got the idea for The Sarah Jane Adventures because she had appeared in School Reunion with David Tennant.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was such a popular episode that it literally rang through the halls of the BBC. Wait a minute, we could do something with this.
Yeah, and she, I think she ran, if I'm not mistaken, for 5 seasons. I mean, pretty long for somebody who was just a companion from the original show and to have her own series. And she had all these kids that would encompass her, and Mr. Smith, of course, the computer, that would help her out along the way. And
One other kind mention, if I can, I don't mean to interrupt. She had done a series on Big Finish, and it ran, I think, 2 series, I believe. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, because she got called for the Sarah Jane Adventures, they ended it on a cliffhanger. And it never ended. But you can still find copies out there, if I remember right, of the Sarah Jane Big Finish Adventures. I know there's some drifting around on eBay or something like that out there, and they were pretty good.
And then she would open up her little home on Bannerman Road and bring in all these kids, Mr. Smith, and do all these. I like I was kind of taken aback as to they brought K9 back, but they put him in like a black hole that was about to collapse on something, and then he would rotate. And it's like, that is the most weirdest thing to do to K9 to kind of. What's that?
I heard something about rights issues at that time.
I'm sure, because weren't they making K9 the series in another country at the time? And that just kind of
that Australian series, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or where they totally redesigned it to look like an iPad or something.
Yeah, exactly. There.
Yeah, you had Flying K9 now.
You had K9 Mach, whatever the heck that was.
The action figure possibilities for all the K9 figures they could have sold.
I know.
Yeah. Well, even in the Farewell Sarah Jane, they make a quick note of what happens to K9 and that Ronnie takes him.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's kind of like taking over the mantle. Hello, Mrs. Freedom. And there, I guess she put a little thing or something.
Lady Gallifrey. Yeah, there she is.
Lady Gallifrey herself there. And I'm bringing back an old note. This would have me so much back at DPH. I hope, Candace, you're going to elaborate that. I think she was talking earlier about when we were talking about all these actors helping you out with Shakespearean stuff out there. Well, James, what is your earliest memory of Sarah Jane Smith? Let me change that. What's your fondest memory of Sarah Jane Smith?
Well, being as I was introduced to Doctor Who through New Who, and then I purposely went back and got involved in the classic series because I wanted to kind of catch up on all the stuff I missed. I mostly remember her being introduced in David Tennant's run, so that was my first experience with her. But I loved her. I went back and watched some of the Tom Baker episodes, and I thought Ark in Space, she was great. She was obviously, it showed her as a very take charge, plucky, strong, independent. She wasn't going to, just wait for the men to come rescue her kind of person. So that, because I guess that was my first Sarah Jane classic episode, that kind of Ark in Space always holds a special place for me.
Gotcha. So you actually saw Sarah Jane. You hadn't seen the classic Who. You saw Sarah Jane in school reunion, and then went back to see her. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I was introduced. Chris Eccleston was my first Doctor, and then I decided to go back and see what the classic stuff was all about, because obviously they were making references in school reunion to K9, and I kind of wanted to see where all this came from, and just got swept over in the richness of the classic series.
Gotcha there. Melanie, what's your favorite memory of Sarah Jane Smith?
It's honestly going to mimic a lot of James's comments, because I started with, I know that I remember the Fourth Doctor from PBS, but that wasn't during, for here, that Sarah Jane wasn't really in it when the parts that I remember watching, where we only had like maybe a season or two, and then it kind of replayed again. So I was really introduced to her character in New Who, and then was like, oh wait. And then once I got back into New Who, saw her, like, wait, I really wanted to get back into classic, and luckily either Netflix or one of them was having it, so I could go back to everything. And then went through the whole of the Fourth Doctor, because I didn't start when I went to Fourth, because that's the one I wanted to see again. And I'm like, oh wait, he had a lot more companions. And then seeing Sarah Jane, and oh my god, I adored Harry. I loved those three. I liked the Fourth Doctor, Sarah Jane, and Harry. That was like my favorite TARDIS like companion piece, whatever. So yeah, any of those honestly were like my favorite. How much I really liked Sarah Jane in that. It's always going to be the scene of him with the two wires, trying to think whether or not he's going to blow up a Dalek, and she is just. Here, you've already seen her on every other time. She's the one that's the voice of reason, the voice of compassion, and she's not at that point. She is the absolute no. You could see she's about to just grab his hands and just do it herself. So that's always the most, not a little bit out of character, but I think it's the most passionate we saw Sarah Jane.
It's not out of character, but do you think that was the right call for the right reason? Do you think in that episode, because she knew what was going to happen, she knows the dangers of the Daleks. Now here's a one time where, throughout her whole life, she's always been the compassionate woman, to try to do the right thing. And in fact, Mike, I'm going to get you into the origins, but that one moment you said was completely different from her characterization. Was because of desperation, or do you think that's what Sarah Jane would have done?
I think sometimes that the right thing isn't always the only choice. Both of them, I think, were doing the right thing. Just one was doing it more broad scope for not humanity, but for the lives that were going on and everything, and seeing big picture. And he was thinking from the moral high ground on a different. It was two forks in the same road. That were right.
They were both seeing the big picture, but from different perspectives.
Yeah.
She was seeing it from the perspective of the universe, people that were affected. Everything, and basically, here's your chance to kill Hitler before he starts everything. But he's looking at a big picture from the dimension, from time, from all of the universe, the aspects, from different dimensions and such, an aspect that she is not able to see, but he can, and say, wait a minute, do I have a right to do this? Is this my position? And it's one of my favorite scenes, not only of Doctor Who, I mean of classic Who, but all of Doctor Who, because those two were in the room together, and I think that was some of the best acting. And there's Tom Baker at his best.
And it's a great ethical, dilemma. Mm-hmm. What do you do?
And here's the weird part. It's the Doctor who has the dilemma. It's not him putting the wires together. It's her going, just do it. And he's having all these second thoughts, and you're just like, are you sure that this is the right thing? Do I have the right? Mike, that is one of my favorite scenes, but what's your favorite scene? I'm going to tell you mine, because there was an interview with Tom Baker expressing himself how the alien side of interacting with Sarah Jane is the arc in space, where he's taunting her when she gets stuck into that little... I guess, what was it, the little corridor, or for a better term there? She's stuck in there, and the Doctor just razzes her and just, oh, Doctor. It's just like...
Oh, exactly. Well, you also have to realize that's part... Sarah Jane was the first feminist companion.
Yeah.
And, she was the reporter. She was, the one who was out on her own, and she pretended to be her aunt to join with the Third Doctor and to go after in the Silurians. And it was interesting because the episode you mentioned with the arc in space was one of my first times I had experienced Sarah Jane Smith. And it was so awesome to be able to see her and to, do it. And her, when the Doctor was taunting her because she was like, I can't make it through, because she was in this air duct. And she was just like, I can't make it through, Doctor. I can't. What can I do? And, he says, oh, okay, stay there. You're just a little girl, blah, blah, blah. And he razzed her into it. And then from that point, you knew the kind of relationship they had together. And it was just awesome and everything.
And it's a complete flip. Because when she first met the John Pertwee Doctor, the Third Doctor, she was hardcore feminist.
Oh, big time.
I mean, completely. And to see her in that tube, stuck in there with the Fourth Doctor razzing her, I'm like, my God, I wouldn't say that it was a different characterization, but I think she's kind of grown to the Doctor to where she first had that wall, I think, with the Third Doctor, because she didn't know who to trust him, and at first she was like, I don't trust you. I have no idea why I should be trusting you at all. But now to let down the guard, and then she's in a moment where she is in a crisis, and here comes the Fourth Doctor and just goes, do it yourself. I'm not coming in there.
You have to realize this is the second storyline with the Fourth Doctor, and it was awesome, and it just tied in so well together. And you could see why, to this day, the 10th Doctor or any of the Doctors considers Sarah Jane his best friend, type thing. And Dr. Four and Sarah Jane had the best chemistry, flat out, and it was just sad to see when, she had to leave the series and everything. And it was just like, and, how popular she was. No other companion was ever given a chance at their own TV show or anything. Right. You never saw Rose and her adventures with Mickey or something, or, something like that, or something like that. It was just craziness.
But also I think if anybody can remember this, I've never seen it. I've just heard of it, but something called Downtime. If anybody, do you remember anything of that nature, Mike? Do you remember Downtime? Because I don't remember it.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Okay.
It's been a long, long time since I've seen it, but yeah.
Gotcha. Dr. Freedom, hold that thought because we're on a commercial break. The next question is going to be yours in just a moment there. When we return, folks, we're going to be talking more about companion Sarah Jane Smith, the woman who would change the Whoniverse forever and wonderfully so. When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tuned in, and become part of the legend.
Now on Amazon.com, iCoin from author Jeremy Mosby. It's an alternate reality, and the leader of the planet iCoin is none other than Benjamin Franklin. When corrupt officials threaten not only iCoin but the Earth as well, an unlikely chosen one, Jeremy, must face dark foes to save the Earth and iCoin alike. Author Jeremy Mosby takes readers on a superhero's adventure through this compelling and imaginative alternate universe. Get iCoin on Amazon.com today.
Jackie Sonnenberg's My Soul to Keep is a ghost story rooted in the realities of actual cults. When 13-year-old Sky Monroe arrives at her new boarding school, all she can think about is death and connecting with the afterlife. Soon she discovers her school's spirituality group, the Guardians of Light, and they have a secret. They can speak with the dead, and the organization is a cult. But this isn't Sky's only problem. The campus house where Sky resides is haunted, and even the ghosts have an agenda. They intend on getting the souls they want. Filled with mystery and intrigue plucked straight from the headlines, author Jackie Sonnenberg's research and attention to detail give this ghost story an even more eerie atmosphere. Find My Soul to Keep on Amazon.com today.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show. My name is Christian Basel, the host of the Legend of the Traveling Tardis. I'm here with my friends James Enstall from Geek to Me Radio. I'm with here director Melanie Dean and Artiste. Make sure you catch out her YouTube, streaming live here on the Facebook channel, where she does her live artistry. Definitely want to check that out there. I'm here with director MikeFaber of Earth Station Who, and finally, Dr. Freedom himself, Brian Burress there. Brian, the question that we were going to before the break was your favorite moment of Sarah Jane Smith. And notice I've left out not Elizabeth Sladen, but of Sarah Jane Smith. But before we do, I just want to say hi to Jen Hogan, who said hi before the commercial break there. How you doing there, Jen? Thanks for everybody. And thank you all for joining us here. We're hoping you're having a great time. Again, remember, just type into the chat if you have any questions or you want to comment yourself, your favorite moments, your favorite memory of Elizabeth Sladen and Sarah Jane Smith. So, Brian, take it away.
Well, my very first episode of Doctor Who was in the summer of '83, and that was the Sontaran Experiment. Mm-hmm. And that's when I fell in love with this young woman named Sarah Jane Smith, and also began to admire a fellow named Harry Sullivan, played by Ian Marter, who would sadly pass, long before Sarah did, and long before Elizabeth did. There was just so many great adventures she had with the Doctor, and it's just, she seemed to be so different from all the previous companions that we had before. She did more than just, stand there, hand the Doctor his instruments and tell him how brilliant he was, as the Brigadier would put it.
Right. Or Doctor, what is it?
Yeah. So that's what I loved, and as I got further into the show, especially when school reunion came around, like I said, I actually got a little heart flutter there when I saw her, walk onto that screen and talk with David Tennant. And of course, me being an old fan, I know the relationship between these two. It was kind of like a nifty little, little Easter egg for us folks from the classic series, because everybody's like, okay, wait a minute, he obviously knows her, but meanwhile we're going, yeah, he does.
Yeah, exactly.
we know what's going on there.
We know what's going on out there. Well,
she was one of the longest running companions. She's definitely up there in the top 5, I believe, of longest running. And it's just, I don't know how to best describe it. She just hit off with Baker so well. And then when she went out on her own, she was so fierce, so strong, independent. This is the kind of person that if I had a dilemma, I'd want her researching it. She's, her character of Sarah Jane, evolved more than anything over time, with her time as the Doctor and with her time in the Sarah Jane adventures, and became such a strong, present, figure that, like I said, the day she passed, I had friends of mine going, because I was actually walking around work that day, and I had to do a 10-hour shift, and I had tears in my eyes that whole day, because I'm sitting here thinking, even though I didn't know this person, I didn't know Liz Sladen, this person who had been coming into my life for nearly 30 years was now gone. Mm-hmm. And that's how I thought. It was like I lost an old, dear friend. And that's how I still feel to this day. I'm very sad, and I never got to meet her in person, Liz Sladen. And it's just, very sad that, she's no longer with us, but she lives on, through her legacy here. So
Gotcha. Speaking of which, let me just grab this one chat real fast there. Jadine Cabral, thank you for saying hi. I think she meant love there. Yeah, there you go. Love. Love Sarah Jane Smith. And my favorite Sarah Jane Smith was when she first met the 10th Doctor. The look of David when he first saw. Yeah, I got to give David Tennant some kudos to that, because you could see in his eyes all the doctors turning around, looking at her for the very first time, going like, "Wait, that's Sarah Jane." That was, and I was, my personal geeking out moment at that time was going on out there. Mike, when you first saw School Reunion, knowing Sarah Jane, and that first moment that David Tennant looks at her, what was your reaction to that?
Oh, my heart fluttered also. It was just like, oh, it is awesome to see her back. And she looked so beautiful. She aged so well. And the great thing about it is the look on Tennant's face was genuine, because he was a fanboy anyway.
Right, exactly.
And this is the first time he got to do a scene with her together as the Doctor, because they crossed paths earlier in that episode, but not him as the Doctor. And with her seeing the TARDIS and the Doctor being there, it was just like, oh, that was so cool.
I literally was like, oh my God, what are they going to say next? I think that was, what are they going to say to each other? What's that first line? And his first line is going to be typical Doctor. Hello, Sarah Jane. And I was just like, oh my God.
And her was like, you left me at the wrong place. That was just so classic. That was just awesome.
I loved how they even called that back, like with the 12th Doctor, when at one point he was going through flashcards, and one of them was something like, it had the word Aberdeen in it.
Yes.
And I can't remember what the flashcard was, but it was another nod of, you went the wrong place and dropped her off. And that was not where she was supposed to be.
Nope.
Oh my God! I just because that was the running gag, wasn't that she dropped him off at the wrong spot, and that was kind of running gag through the Hooniverse, and now that was brought up actually in School Reunion.
But you could tell that she's been waiting for years to tell him that, and that was just awesome.
It's like, it was almost like, you left me at the altar. You ran away. I had family invited. You just ran away there.
You were supposed to come back for me.
Since James and Melanie, you both were part of the new Who, I don't know how you guys felt the banter between Rose and Sarah Jane when they first meet. And folks, if you want to join us in the conversation, please go ahead and continue to chat. If you're on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS site, Hanging With site, or Krypton Radio, just put your message through the Facebook page and we'll get to your chats. But what did you two think when you saw Girlfriend versus the Missus?
Oh, that was absolutely well played, because you know that the subtext for Ten and Rose was a boyfriend-girlfriend kind of thing. And clearly, if you go through all of the classic Who,
yeah,
4 and Sarah Jane was another one. So having the two of them just be very jealous at each other was hilarious. Was just kind of biting at that, just almost taunting a cat fight kind of ish, where they were just throwing barbs at one another. But then finally having that little bonding moment at his expense was absolutely hilarious, because then they were just kind of pulling apart just different nuances of a character that never changed. That the fact that he's always talking to the TARDIS, that he's always touching the TARDIS, that he's doing, that once you start saying something and then he gives you that look that you just dribbled on your shirt, that I thought that, and they were both just understanding those little things. And I just loved how 10 comes in there and he's like, wait, what? And he's just freaking out because he's like, wait, what's going on? I thought it was architected very well.
It was kind of like,
and then the handshake, the bond.
To me, it felt like, because I was divorced already at that point, and I was dating my current wife, and the first time my ex had met my wife, it was just like, and I felt like the 10th Doctor. I so felt for him at that point.
The thing is that when it came to the 4th Doctor, and I've seen interviews with Tom Baker, and one of his things when he was taking on the Doctor was there was no relationship. There was no love. There was always that friendship. They were always the best friends. But did anybody actually see a connection between 4 and Sarah Jane as it might be more than just friends? No.
that I ever picked up on. Now.
No. But then it kind of self-revealed in School Reunion when she's talking to Rose, and they're kind of like one-upping each other. And when she finally says, "The Loch Ness Monster," and just like, seriously, it's just like they're going over like what was their worst villain at the time. It's just like met the Emperor when they were talking about the Daleks, and it's just like, wow. I
think that it translates so well for an audience to think the whole girlfriend kind of piece to it. Yeah. But I think really what that was a sense of abandonment that they both had, that being left, because that was a overlying kind of or underlying arc with Rose, is that any minute she was just going to be dropped off. And here you have Sarah Jane, who literally was dropped off in Aberdeen when it was supposed to be freaking South Croydon. And she's been hurt by that. Not only did this person that you know and trust drop you off and never came back and found you, but he dropped you off in the wrong damn place. So you know that she's thinking the whole time, do you really not pay attention to me at all? So I think that was really, yes, it could translate into like the whole girlfriend piece easily. But I think really from an acting almost wise, I think the two of them, I would think that from, at least looking at it from a script wise, it was literally a abandonment thing of, oh, you're just the next in a long line. Wait,
yeah.
What? You mean I'm replaceable? What do you mean I'm a replaceable?
I will have to say the little cherry on top that scene between Elizabeth and Billy Piper was Mickey's reaction to watching the two of them go back and forth that was priceless too, because he was enjoying the crap out of that.
Yeah,
the grin on his face was classic.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, I'm the tin dog when he has that realization at the very end. Yeah, he's a take there. So we get to Elizabeth Sladen, she's offered the Sarah Jane Adventures. What did you guys think of the run? And anybody can pick it up. What did you think of the series? And do you think that was a good homage to the Sarah Jane character? I guess we'll start with Dr. Friedman. It's been a while, Brian, since we haven't heard from you yet.
Well, you could tell it was aimed at a younger audience, but at the same time, it was still just as much Doctor Who to me, but with her taking on the central role. She's taking all these kids under her wing, and she's, gone off to explore things and learn things on her own. And that's what I loved about it, was the fact that, she didn't really need the Doctor to continue her adventure. And the fact that, we're getting to experience, her on her own with these kids and these various different adventures. Side note, yes, Bradley Walsh did play a villain in that series, by the way, for you folks who are curious. And I think it was Day of the Clown. But other than that, like I said, it was just amazing to me that, she came back, she carried it off, and she did so for almost 5 years. Sadly, her health began to deteriorate, and she passed when they were partway through filming of season 5. So not all of season 5 got to be made. So, just the fact she was still out there, doing things on her own really just, amazed me. It really had me going.
I think one of the things I wish, and they were starting to do, and we've mentioned this a lot on the show with the Sarah Jane Adventures, was that not only I think it was a good homage to Sarah Jane and Elizabeth Sladen for the role that she had taken and made her own, but then we started to kind of see through like Katie Manning what could have been. To see with other Doctor Who companions, and I know we talked a lot with Sophie Aldred. She was the next person to be there. And anybody can pick at this. What direction, if Elizabeth Sladen were still alive to play the role, what direction do you think, and what companion would you have liked to have seen on the Sarah Jane Adventures? Who do you think the next person should have been in line?
Obviously Ace.
Yeah.
Like we said. I wouldn't have mind seeing somehow maybe Frasier return as Jamie.
But he has the memory loss though, doesn't he? He can't remember. He could just be walking around. Yeah. Like, I know I'm supposed to be here.
Tough, he could pretend he's an Outlander or something, something like that. Something like that. But yeah, I would have liked to see, Frasier, of course, but I wouldn't have mind seeing, like we said earlier, Romana somehow coming into it. I think that would have been pretty awesome. As long as it's not Mel, I'm fine with it.
Oh my God. Are we going to torture poor Bonnie Langford for the rest of her life?
Yes.
See, I
Alright.
would love to see Romana, but like the Juliet Landau
Oh,
portrayal of
okay.
Romana, who do I need to fight to see that happen, to actually be into the TV series, just to kind of even give more credence to her, all of her big finish as Romana. I think that would, oh God, that'd be amazing.
That'd be
It
great.
would be awesome.
But if I could bring back, Sladen, I would have loved just to see her with Katie Manning, just Jo. Joe's out there again. Just give me more of that. The grounded. It's almost like an odd couple with those two.
Let me wrap
That kind of feel.
Let me wrap this up with this question, with this segment.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Jack, he was there once, and
Oh, true. He's still at the end of time.
Yeah.
That's
She was there with the 10th Doctor crew when they were
Stolen
flying
Earth
everybody
during
back.
that, yeah.
when they were
But-
singing Kumbaya together. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But we remember the big finish one, the Green Life between Captain Jack and Joe Grant.
Joe.
What would have happened if there were an episode between Sarah Jane and Captain Jack just being by themselves alone? I think that would be tremendously awesome there. Speaking of awesome, oh no, go ahead, Mike. We'll go
I was going to say real quick. You remember she didn't really approve of what Torchwood was doing either.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. Yeah,
she's going like, not for the kids.
yeah, too many guns.
Too many guns there, folks. When we come back, when we return, we're going to be talking up and wrapping up the segment of Sarah Jane Smith and the legacy of Elizabeth Sladen. We return, and the question of this episode: is there a future for Sarah Jane Smith, or have we seen the end of her yet? When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tune in, and continue to become part of the legend.
Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish.
Santa, if there's one thing I want for Christmas more than anything, it's someone to spend Christmas with. Someone who really wants me to be there.
Head to the mountains of East Tennessee with romance author Jenna Hart for a Christmas writer's workshop. Since her mother passed after a long illness, Jenna has had one wish. She doesn't want to spend Christmas alone. Meeting Niccolo Maldini, cover model and actor, could make more than Jenna's Christmas wish come true. Unless Ember, Niccolo's ex-girlfriend, does something crazy to stop them from being together. It's a mountain Christmas romance you won't want to miss in Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish. Now on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show and our final part of the discussion of the character known as Sarah Jane Smith, the woman who would change the Hooniverse forever. My name is Christian Basel. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for staying logged on and tuned into our episode. I'm here with James Enstall from Geek to Me Radio. I'm here with our lovely director, Pieces of Melee, Melanie Dean. Artiste, make sure you see her live shows when they come out. Director MikeFaber from Earth Station Who, and Brian Burress, Dr. Freedom himself, on the YouTube channel. So, I gotta make a confession here. I did not want to watch that video when Farewell Sarah Jane came out, and I knew Russell T Davies put that out there. Yeah, Niagara Falls. I knew that was Niagara Falls was going to happen. It
was verklempt. What can I say?
I could not bring myself to do it. And then I finally just said, I was sitting in the car, and I said, I think I was waiting for something. Something was going on at the time, and I said, I'll just watch in the car, because if I'm going to bawl my eyes out, I want to do it where nobody's looking at me. So I did it in the car. So starting with you, James. First of all, everybody's seen Farewell Sarah Jane, correct?
I did not see the whole thing. I saw
You have
a
not?
couple clips. No. I didn't want to put myself through the emotional ringer, and I saw stop it. No, the other way. I'm looking the wrong way. See.
Bye, James.
That's fair. I've been demoted. Look at this. I'm down here now.
Welcome to the bottom. Welcome to the bottom.
No, I kept seeing clips of it, and every time I'd start to play it, I was at work, or I'm like, I can't put myself through this now. I'm going to wait. And I waited, and I just never got around to actually seeing the whole thing.
Okay, well, you saw part of it. What was your emotion? What was your reaction to it when you first started watching it?
Just with anything, because I'm a very I cry at like stupid Hallmark commercials and stuff like that. So just seeing it start, and I was like, oh man, it's just like with anything else. I cry when the Doctor regenerates, like Peter Capaldi's life. So I knew something like this. This is a woman we don't have in. See, I'm already started. This is a woman we don't have in the world anymore, and it's it just I couldn't take it at the time, so I just kind of I pressed pause, was getting it back to it, and I haven't been able to.
No. I got to agree. When I was sitting down there, when it got to when it got to Ronnie's discussion, I had to pause. I had to stop. That's when this is going into overload now, and I just could not take it. And I stopped, I think, at least 3 times because I was listening to the eulogy. I think even who was the bad guy? It was the trickster who showed up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. For
They
like,
all had to stop to deal with the trickster.
and it was almost like even in her passing, for a better term, we still had one last adventure for everybody to go on. One last thing there.
Mm-hmm.
Melanie, you're watching it. What's your reaction to it?
Oh, it was like James. I started tearing up. And the sad thing is I'm a robot. It's hard to get me to cry. I have no heart. I am just a stone cold. I have no emotions. It's not. It's just. I don't. I mean, I'm that monster that doesn't cry at funerals. I just don't. I'll start misting. And this is one of the few things that I started misting on. And honestly, it was and I don't want to give James a spoiler, so not listen to this part. When Ronnie at the end says, farewell, and she turns, because I already knew that I saw the tear kind of going down her eye, down her cheek. Yeah. When she turns, I could swear that I thought it was with enough weight that it kind of flew off, and I'm like, and it got me.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, it was, I thought I wasn't prepared because I kind of went into it blind. I wasn't prepared for the narrator to kind of go, and then she said, and then all of a sudden there's Katie Manning. And then there's, and they're all in character, right, and as if you could just see like they were standing outside, after the memorial, they're standing in their small groups talking to one another, and okay, I need to go, blah, 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 blah. You just felt that. And considering we're in the middle of a pandemic where people can't just get together and they were able to film these things on their phones for the most part and be able to get the shot lined up, and there's nothing around them. There's no set. They're just wearing what they wear. And those people were in their characters, and they gave it at like 100 million% to that little tiny camera phone. And it translated beautifully.
Gotcha. Mike, you watched the episode. What finally got to you during the I
had to blame it on allergies. That's what I keep on telling everyone. It was a really bad pollen day that day. I had already started working from home by that point. And so I was here in my office, and I was just like, oh, what? It's wonderful. It's great. The feels just started coming everywhere. And I loved how they were saying which companions were there, even Ian and Barbara. And on the episode when Matt Smith's Doctor was on Sarah Jane Adventures, they had brought up that, basically because of the travels with the first Doctor, Ian and Barbara were mortal, and, they stopped aging. And so it was just awesome to see them there, hearing that they were there, and just all of it. And then to see all the different cameos they had, it was just like, oh, this is just awesome. And to find out what happened to the kids, and that Mr. Smith is still there waiting for the next adventure. Yeah. That was just awesome to see. And it was just like, okay, I'm not going to cry anymore and about it. And Elizabeth Sladen was my first crush ever, and this was probably, I was 9 years old, and it was like, this is what it's like to like a female. Oh, okay, this is awesome, and there's just something about her that I just loved, and every companion since has had to live up to her. And
wow, okay,
it's just awesome. And this series and the special they did was just perfect for it. It was a great sound off.
And it's actually, as funny as it sounds, I've always thought of Sarah Jane as my kid's sister. when I was watching that series. And I think I just grew up at the right time during that series, because then Leela came in, and then I kind of liked the companion a little bit more than I should have. But I've always thought of Sarah Jane being like the kid sister who wants to take care of everybody, the motherly sister. Even when even when the Doctor does his thing, I think Sarah Jane still tries to stand her ground on what's morally correct with what's going on. Brian, I've always had this question about what RTD did, because RTD wrote this, and I thought it was beautiful enough that when Sarah Jane ended, because RTD, Russell T. Davis, didn't want the series to end. It was like the adventure continues. Even there, I think that's the moniker that they use at the end of the Sarah Jane shows, like the adventure never ends or the adventure continues. And then I heard the farewell to Sarah Jane. Now I don't want to blow it for James or anybody who hasn't seen it, but do you think this was a better ending to what they gave Sarah during the Sarah Jane Adventures, or do you think maybe we should have kept it the other way?
I was always hoping that they would acknowledge, Sarah Jane's passing. We tend to think, of course, Liz Sladen, the person, and Sarah Jane, the character. But to me, she made that character. And, even though her daughter has taken on the mantle for Big Finish, to me, she's always going to be the definitive Sarah Jane Smith. So right. In a way, I kind of wish that they had recognized, a long time ago before this, that something had happened where Sarah Jane had passed. And then everyone has to pick up the pieces and move on, which sadly is a part of life. Death is a part of life. And we have to learn, to take, what was given us from this person and use it in our own experience going forward. Even RTD, I believe, many years later, I think he wrote, if I'm going off memory here, I believe it was Benjamin Cook. He had written that he had wished he had not ended the series where it did. That maybe it was a bad idea to have just ended it that way and not have it carry on. Maybe it was someone else. And see, that's the great thing. Even though, the character
Sarah Jane's cousin or something like that.
Someone else could have picked it up. Like I said, to me, I can see a Bannerman Road series right now. You don't even have to have, it would still carry on in her name, but I'd call it Bannerman Road. That'd be my thought. And then, maybe have someone else step in and help them, pick up the pieces and keep moving forward in her name. But like I said, so in a way, I think it was long overdue that they had, acknowledged that, she's no longer with us, but she's always going to be with us in a way, because she's the companion. Like, as Mike said, she set the bar. She really did. Yeah. She set it very high. So I'm just glad, they did finally acknowledge that, her character is passed on, but she'll always be remembered. Like I said, my only big beef, and I know some folks didn't like the fact I mentioned it, is that I believe Tom Baker should have narrated this.
Oh.
Because if he had, I guarantee you, there would have been tears streaming out my eyes.
I would have. That's it. Yeah, that would have.
It should have ended that way.
It should have been Tom Baker.
I should. Let's get to the chats real fast, because we're getting close to the wrap up show. Graham Krause, there's a short with 11 and Joe Grant. She says he never came back to check on her. And we got Mick Price. Thank you guys for joining us here. Greetings from Mick Price, North Hollywood, by way of Pomona, California.
Yep, that's right.
Right there. And great gag reel material, kids. Thanks, Mick. I really appreciate that. Are there any plans to have a different actress a la Richard Herndl and David Bradley? Well, as funny as you say that, Big Finish has already announced this lovely young lady is going to be taking over her mother on the Big Finish as Sarah Jane Smith throughout the Big Finish episodes there. And I guess I'll wrap this up with a question, then we'll just go through the conventions real fast. Do you think this should be the end, or do you think Sadie should pick up the mantle and run with it? Anybody can take that question.
Well, they did the same thing already with Caroline John's daughter. She stepped in to play Liz Shaw, and she did it brilliantly. She did it very convincingly. So, in the fact that they're, looking, to the daughters first, shows that they're honoring, the mother's memory by having them take it on. So as long as the stories are good and they stay in line with the character and all that, I have no problem with it at all.
Mm-mm.
Yep,
I agree.
Yep.
I'm totally for that. The same way you have Fraser Hines doing the second Doctor in the Big Finish Adventures, I definitely think Elizabeth's daughter definitely should be taking over. And she sounds just like her mom anyway, so it's perfect.
Yeah, from the clips I've heard, she does it brilliantly. She's stepped right into the roles.
I can't wait to hear that. I guess it's no different than three guys taking on the first Doctor.
Yep.
Bradley
there's a joke there somewhere. I don't know.
Not to mention, you've had Tim Treloar step in as the third Doctor.
Which
you've also had, I believe it's Elliot Benjamin stepped in as Ben Jackson for a time. Sadly, like as I said before, death is a part of life. But even though the person who originally played this character is no longer with us, doesn't mean that character can't go on. And in a way, it's honoring the person who brought it to us memory by having that person's legacy continue.
Right. So, in the best way I can put this and wrapping it up in the way that Ood said it, this song is ending, but the story never ends.
Exactamundo.
I guess this is the best way we can wrap it up there. And speaking of wrapping up, folks, I just want to give you our convention information. Just look over the event page of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. MegaCon has finally moved. It is the weekend of Halloween starting October 30th. And we are still scheduled to go over there. We're still at Florida SuperCon July 4th weekend. No, Florida SuperCon, I apologize, has canceled and is moving to 2021. So the next one that's
coming, it's 2021. It's this MegaCon Light. That's Halloween weekend.
Right, and it's MegaCon Light. MegaCon will return in March in 2021 for full blown, but right now, get your tickets if you want to go to MegaCon, and hopefully we will be there Halloween weekend. The next convention coming up is Kaiser SuperCon. Fingers crossed, that's taking place literally as we're recording 1 month from now, June 12th. Of course, we're still going to Tampa Bay Comic-Con. They haven't changed. They're still on July 10th weekend and October 10th, Comcast Burress that weekend as well. Thank you, folks, for joining us. For those of you who chat with us, thank you so much. Thank you, Melanie, Dr. Freedom, James, and check out James Enstall's Geek to Me Radio. You can follow him on his Facebook page as well as his Twitter page, and Earth Station Who with MikeFaber. How often do you guys put out content? Just real quick.
When the show's not running, basically every 2 weeks we just put out our Invisible Enemy episode, and it should be out everywhere you can find podcasts. And we are doing this next episode. We are doing the Diary of River Song Volume 4, where she meets the Fourth Doctor.
I'm not making enough money to buy this stuff right now in the current conditions. Otherwise, I'd go completely broke. We'll wrap this up with one last chat. Sean Woodley McDonald. Sadie's a really lovely person, and so like her mom in looks and vocally too. I'm so glad she decided to take on her mom's role. Such an awesome thing to do. I think so too. Folks, thank you for joining us. Please continue to stay logged on, tuned in, stay safe, and believe it or not, Florida is opening up like crazy. So don't have to stay at home, but definitely please stay safe and continue to become part of the legend.
Peace.